It's up to everyone. We are now going live on YouTube. Welcome, welcome. Good afternoon. I'm Angela Carter. I'm the program manager for Measure 110. I use they, them pronouns. I'll be serving as your facilitator for the meeting today. The Oversight and Accountability Council welcomes and encourages community input. Members of the public are invited to submit public comments, or if you would like to get on our interested parties email list, you can reach out to oha.measure110@dhsoha.state.or.us. That email is available in our chat and also on our website, along with a lot of other information about the council and the work that we are doing. For more information or support with any kind of community engagement, please do reach out to Jessica Carroll. Oversight and Accountability Council members have requested that OHA and other staff, as well as anyone from the media, please introduce yourself in the chat. If you would be so kind as to share your role with the agency, in any area of subject matter expertise, and or if you are with the media, we would request you let us know your name and what media outlet you are from. I believe that we have two of our tri-chairs here. Today's meeting will be facilitated by our tri-chair, Ron Williams. It looks like we don't have Keisha in the room yet, but our other tri-chair, Blue, is here with us today. We have a number of things to discuss today in executive session, and I want to make sure that we have enough time to get through that. Ron, would you like to take it from here with the agenda? And then when you are ready, we can go into executive session.
Yeah, thanks. I'm looking at the number of faces. I'm only seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, including myself. Is that about where we're at?
That is where we are. Well, let's see. If we include our non-voting member, Steve, here's Keisha.
Okay.
So it looks like we have 11 people now. So we do not have quorum. I know that there will be a couple of folks who will be late and a couple of folks who need to leave a little early. For executive session.
So once folks arrive, they'll be immediately given access to the executive session upon arrival.
We will have someone watching the room after we go into the breakout, and they can admit folks as they arrive. Yes. Okay. If you'd like to wait until we get more folks in the room.
I mean, we can go ahead and go. I mean, I just wanted to welcome everyone. Thanks for being here. Having a little trouble with my lighting today. That's why I'm hopping on and off. I look fine though, right? You can see me?
You look great. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So today we're going to begin. I'm just going to run through the agenda, then we'll go to the executive session. So the executive session, so we're welcome in attendance. I guess we're going to wait on attendance. Then we're going to go into executive session. I have a script that I'm going to read prior to that. And then once we complete the executive session, we're going to come back into full council and public session to have a discussion, get a burn awards update, and then review and approve some grant agreements. we'll have a discussion regarding the form for e-filing for e-violation waivers and that process. There'll be a discussion regarding establishes or reconstituting or reinitiating the media subcommittee. And then there's a discussion regarding burn policies requesting input. I'm not sure exactly what that is anymore, but I'm sure when we get to it, I'll be able to explain it. So with that, I believe we could probably just go ahead and go into executive session, unless I missed something.
Let's start with attendance so that we know who is in the room. It looks like we got another person who just joined us. Hello, Hubert. So let's start with attendance, and then we can read the script and go into executive session.
Hey, hello, everyone. I'm just going to go down, just say here after I call your name, please. Amy, is Amy? Amy? Blue?
Here.
Okay, hi, Blue. Carlos will be arriving late. Caroline?
Here.
Okay. Dharma? Aowen?
Here.
Thanks, Aowen. Henry?
Good afternoon. I'm here.
Thanks, Henry. Hubert?
I'm here.
Thanks, Hubert. Karen? Karen? All right. Keisha?
Here, limited time.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Keisha. Lana? Leticia?
Here.
Thanks, Leticia. Melinda?
Here.
All right. Thanks, Melinda. Morgan?
Morgan will also be late.
Okay. Nicole? All right. Onisha? Okay. Ron?
Ron's here.
Okay. Sabrina?
I'm here.
All right. And Zeb?
Hi, I'm here.
All right. And Steve?
Hello, everybody. I'm here.
All right. And Reginald? All right. Oops. Okay. Got 11 voting members and 1 non-voting member, so that gives us 12. Back to you, Angela.
Thank you, Walter.
Yeah, just what I remembered what that last thing was about. It's regarding the burn policies that we're requiring that all of the entities or burns to provide as part of their agreement. And we'll get more into this later, but the request is going to be for folks to provide input on the required policies as they, and we're going to be asking for folks to participate in that process. And with that, we can probably go ahead and go into executive session. I have a script that I'm going to read. The Oversight and Accountability Council will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660 subsection 2 sub F and H. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on or otherwise disclose anything said about these subjects during the executive session. I'm not sure why I'm stumbling over these words. Except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to the live stream and resume the public portion of today's meeting.
Right. Thank you, Ron. All right, we are going to do a little space-time travel through to our breakout rooms. We'll see you in there in just a moment. See you on the other side.
Hey, Jessica, I, I can't, you're not on this list, but so you'll have to join manually, but you're also not assigned, so just FYI. I can't hear you, you're muted.
Trying to get this email sent out immediately that Allison asked me to send to the council because I didn't get, I'm just, okay, hold on. Under pressure. Okay.
You see how to join manually?
I know how to do it, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Just making sure. I'm going.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. You're the best. I'm muted. Noel, are you a member of the media?
Yes, I am. I'm
Okay,
with you, Antonio.
okay, great. I will admit you in just 1 second.
My apologies for being late.
No worries, no worries. We just couldn't figure out if you were a member of the media or just somebody who got the link, which happens sometimes.
Okay, I'm gonna go on mute now.
Okay, perfect. I see we have somebody who joined on their phone.
Hi, this is Sissy Bollinger. I'm the manager for licensing, certification, and technical assistance with HSD at Oregon Health Authority.
Hi, this is Jessica Carroll. I met you yesterday. I'm going to go ahead. We are in executive session right now. I'm going to go ahead and admit you. Once I do, you're on your phone. Are you able to just type what you just said into the chat when we get in there, or?
I don't have that access right now.
Okay, so, okay, it's fine. We'll figure it out. And you're here, I'm trying to, sorry, it's my crazy day. I'm going to put you in executive session.
Okay, and I'm just listening in here if you need anything.
Oh, well, you're the best. Thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you. Sorry for being late.
No worries.
And hello, welcome back to the open session of the Oversight and Accountability Council meeting. We are just exiting executive session, and now we will return to the open meeting and continue with the agenda. Let's see, I'm going to check and make sure everyone made it back from the breakout room.
So next on the agenda is going to be the OHA Burn Award updates.
Right. I just did a quick head count. We have a few more people in the room so that we can assure for our voting purposes that we have quorum. Would it be all right, Walter, to go through and recheck attendance, please?
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure. Give me 1 second. I'll take it from the top. Just say here. Once I call your name, please. Amy,
Here.
Blue,
Here.
okay. Carlos,
Here.
okay. Caroline,
Here.
Dharma, Aowen, and Aowen is leaving. Henry,
Here.
okay. Hubert,
Here.
okay. Karen, Karen, all right. Keisha, Keisha, are you here? Okay. Lana, Leticia,
Here.
okay. Melinda,
Here.
okay. Morgan,
Here.
okay. Nicole,
Here. Sorry about that. I'm here.
that's all right. All right, thank you. Onisha, Ron,
Here.
Sabrina,
I'm here.
all right. And Zeb,
I'm here.
all right. Steve,
Here.
all right. And Reginald, all right.
He said he is available if needed. He's actually ill today, but I can ping him if we're short.
Okay. Right now we have 13 voting members, and including you, Steve, gives us 14, so we would need him to vote. Unless I think Keisha and Onisha fell off, so maybe if they come back, but that's where we sit right now. 14. Oh, there goes Onisha. Okay. Back to you, Angela.
All right. So next up, we have updates on the Behavioral Health Resource Network funding process. I believe that we have a PowerPoint. Thank you so much. All right. I will go through this review with you all. Let's go ahead and go to the next page. It is not June 7th. That is my fault. I keep thinking that we are a day behind. So at this time, all of the voting in both subcommittees is complete. All of the letters of intent to award have been sent to every county. Yes, Zeb, absolutely. Congratulations to all of you. This is a huge accomplishment. You have done so much work for so many months, and I just want to take a minute to celebrate this huge success. You've awarded what, around $275 million across the state to a huge number of organizations, many of whom have been doing this work but have never engaged with the state before. And this is a wonderful opportunity for us to work together to provide really amazing, really networked support and treatment for substance use concerns. So thank you so much for all the work you've put in and all the heart you've given and all the time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, let's go to the next slide. So this is where we are with the approval of the applications. We have the number reviewed and the number approved for each county outlined here. And all of those highlighted in this lovely aqua color, we have signed and completed grant agreements. So Morrow County, Harney, Gillum, Grant, Wheeler, Lake, and Jefferson all have complete burns with signed contracts. And there are a number of meetings that are upcoming soon. Here's the rest of our counties. There are a number of meetings coming up soon to continue welcoming our new burn partners to this process. We're including a lot of information for them in their welcome packets, and there is ongoing communication with all of the entities in each county. We have also sent out a survey to Multnomah County to request some assistance and feedback on how they want to collaborate with each other. At this point, I believe we've had 19 out of our 41 approved entities respond to that survey. So we'll have more information on that soon. At this point, we've completed meetings with quite a number of counties. And on the next page, I believe we have the meetings that are coming up for this week. I'll pause here because I see Sabrina's hand. Did you have a question, Sabrina?
Yeah, it's referencing the slide that you just passed in the letter of intent for Multnomah County for the evaluation for, I don't remember the exact wording that was used. I was wondering if all counties are going to be able to utilize or submit some kind of feedback for how that process went.
So we don't have a plan in place yet for receiving that feedback, but we are in discussion about how we can get relevant feedback from all of our burn partners who have been awarded and from people who did not receive an award but did apply. I think it's a really important part of advising our next round of grants. And we definitely will have information from anyone who sends an email to the Measure 110 inbox. So there are avenues for providing comments and information, but we can definitely talk about other ways of gleaning that information for use in determining future granting processes. So for our upcoming meetings, we have today, we have folks working with our burn partners in Josephine, Wasco, and Union County. Tomorrow we have Clatsop, Douglas, Lynn, and Yamhill meetings. And then on Friday, Coos and Wallowa. Next slide, please. And this is just a review to bring back to memory the next steps. We are making sure that we have full burns, and if the funding requested is above or below the allocated county amount, we are working on getting MOUs between every entity in each burn. And once we have all of those MOUs, we are then able to execute grant agreements with each of those entities. And we're also making sure that all of our burn partners have electronic funds transfer paperwork set up so that their funds can be then quickly sent out to them after that grant agreement is signed and ready to execute. And per usual, as we will in just a few minutes today, the OAC will be approving funding, the funding amount and the total burn. And then we are aiming for dispersing those funds within 20 days of all of the completion of the steps. John, please go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if I'm splitting hairs here, but the actual grant agreements will be executed at signature, but we can't send the funding until the MOUs are in place. Just
Thank you, John. I appreciate you making that clear. Thank you. All right. I think we have maybe one more slide. All right. So we are, I believe this may be what we already went through. Yes, I think this is a repeat of the last slide. So I think that that is a wrap up. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions about where we are at this point with the awards process? Blue, yes.
I just had a question. I know when we were considering direct awards, there was some question about whether or not the council would be able to approve those. And I know that we don't have direct awards at this point, but is there any issue with, I guess, the rules or the law if an organization signs on to provide an additional service that was not approved by a subcommittee or essentially the council? Is there any other approval that needs to happen for those organizations to provide those additional services?
Lou, I can take a first run at that, and John can provide additional information or correct me if I don't get it right. So we actually are beginning to have county regions in which there was a gap in services, and what we've been doing, in fact, you approved 3 of those last week with CCS. So this is a provider that you all approved in a different county region and came in and had applied, but for technical reasons wasn't included in the review of the subcommittee. So we brought that organization forward, happened to be CCS, and you all approved that as a direct award that didn't go through the subcommittee process. The parameters that we're using to negotiate on your behalf are this: if it's a missing service that needs to be added to complete a burn, that's the first threshold. And second, is it a provider that you've already approved for another service, whether it was in the county region or within another region? So essentially, we're treating that as a oversight and accountability approved provider, if you will. So those are the 2 primary considerations.
Amy, please go ahead.
So my question here, Steve, is as we knew that as everybody came together and we were looking at the burns, if something was missing, that would be considered an issue, right? But for the people that applied that were approved and that they were creating the programs that were missing, why are we bringing in outside entities to cover that when they are going to be providing that service? Is it because they already have that service in place, or are they going to create that service?
Yeah, I'm
why?
Sorry, Amy, I don't think I'm tracking your question. If you don't mind restating it, that would help me.
Okay. My question is, so you're bringing in CCS into a county, and I didn't hear which county, but you're bringing them into a county to provide a service that that county was lacking at the time, from my understanding. So is it that they're going to create it and no one else said they were going to create it, that service? Let's use smoking cessation as an example, right? So no one had, or let's just use supportive employment. Supported employment came in, nobody had it, right? But one of the burn people said, we're going to create the supported employment program. But we decided to bring CCS in because they already have a supported employment program, or are we bringing them in because what? And is this going to cause issues because, I just have concerns and questions. I don't know how you can answer them, Steve, right now, but I just have concerns. And, I guess that would be my question, because the burns are new and they are forming. They were approved and stuff, and CCS wasn't approved for whatever reason, technical or otherwise, for those certain counties they applied. But they were approved in the county that they did well in. Then we're going to bring them in just because. And isn't that like a huge issue? And is the council okay with that? Because you said that we approved that, but I don't recall approving that. And that just may be me.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Yep.
That's my concern.
No, I think really good question, Amy, and something that we've been deliberating here. So ultimately, keep in mind that you all are the only authority that can approve. You have authorized us to negotiate on your behalf and bring forward proposals that we think follow the rules, and also we believe follow the values of the council. But ultimately, if you have questions or concerns about each proposal, we just ask that you bring those forward to us, that we are accountable to you. And if you all choose to do it differently, we can bring options to the table so that you ultimately exert your authority over these decisions. In the 3 cases that you approved last week, the only provider that was approved for Gillum, Grant, and Wheeler County was Boulder Care, who only provides services remotely, and had only requested to provide, I think, 1 or 2 services for those regions. So essentially, there was a lack of sufficient services. It happened to be that CCS, Community Counseling Solutions, is the community behavioral health provider in all 3 of those counties, and had submitted an application for all of those counties, but again, for technical reasons, was excluded from that process. And so it made good sense to us, negotiating on your behalf, to see whether CCS was still interested in providing the remaining services. We also saw that Boulder Care, only providing remote services, not in-person services, could augment the services and offer choice in those 3 county regions, so that these particular applications were not in conflict with each other, that they could really enhance each other. The 2 parties, Boulder Care and CCS, agreed on that approach. They offered to create that proposal, which we then brought forward to you.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Thank you so much for your explanation, Steve. That helps me a lot. And that does make sense. That makes better sense. Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And it's going to be a little bit different as we go from one county region to another. We saw that one as fairly straightforward. Others, there could be a variety of ways that the council might choose to address both the budget and filling in all the service elements. We want to work on your behalf, and again, are guided by the law and guided by your values, and work to bring that forward. But please do not hesitate to ask questions. We're happy to provide explanations for why we brought forward a particular proposal as it is, but also happy to step back, take a look, and bring the council back additional options.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question, Amy. Thank you, Steve. Blue, did you still have a thought or a question?
I think I understood it. I just wasn't sure if we were missing a step in terms of, it sounds like if things are folded into the services, when we vote as an entire council for everything within that county, that would still cover whichever direction people came into the burn. So I just wanted to be sure I was understanding that process. Thank you.
Welcome.
All right. Are there any other questions about where we are in the awards process at this point? Okay, then we can queue up the next set of slides, and we are excited to present to you 3 complete county burns today.
I am pulling them up in alphabetical order, so we are going to start with the Baker, if that's okay.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good. I will say that even as of a couple of hours ago, we actually had 4 on the table for you today. And Umatilla is the county that you're not going to see today, and it's through no fault of the providers in Umatilla. They, I think, did a remarkable job in pulling their proposal together. And we discovered at the last minute, but fortunately, that there was an error in our calculations. And so we need to go back to the providers in Umatilla and apologize and assist them in redoing at least one budget. So we believe that we can bring that proposal back to you next week. Apologize that we weren't able to quite get it across the finish line. We are also, though, we believe that we will probably have in the neighborhood of 6 or more additional proposals to bring to you next week. So this process is moving along really quickly. As you saw from the slides that Angela presented, we are conducting 9 welcome and negotiation meetings this week for new providers, in addition to lots of behind the scenes and additional one-on-one follow-ups with folks we've already met with. We've brought on 2 additional executive level staff at OHA to assist with negotiations. So we are working to move this really quickly. Our goal has been to have at least 15 county regions done by the 15th, and we think that we will meet and exceed that goal. So knock on wood, but I think we believe that we're on that trajectory. So 3 counties today, and I will provide an overview, and I might need some help if it gets too much in the weeds, because again, I wasn't involved in all of these negotiations. If you have additional questions, but we're happy to take them back. So this is Baker County. Next slide, please. The Baker County region. As you can see, we're still working through some of the smaller county regions. In some cases, there's only one provider, which simplifies the negotiation process. New Directions was approved for all of the service elements. Next slide. So what you can see, though, and again, keep in mind that as the county regions provided their requests and proposals, no one knew what ultimately the budgets would be for these county regions. And so in many cases, these county regions requested significant infrastructure builds. And as part of our negotiation strategies, what we've been looking at first, and again, these are your decisions, but what we believe that you'd be most interested in ensuring that all of the areas of service are first attended to, and then if there's additional funding remaining, that infrastructure that supports those services could be authorized. So you can see here that the request was roughly 2.6 million, only 860 allocated for Baker County, so $1.8 million exceeding, and that's what was on the table for reductions. Next slide, please. There were no subcommittee concerns. So in each of these discussions with providers, we go back, we look at the notes. In some cases, we're actually re-listening to the subcommittee tapes to make sure that we get your concerns right. There were no concerns that were brought forward for Baker County. Next slide. So then it was really a matter of budget reconciliation. And so here's where folks cut over $1 million, almost $1.5 million in the staffing budget, eliminated training, technology requests, supplies, uncompensated care fund, and reduced some services and supports. And so that's how they got to the bottom line. We ask each county region as they cut back, especially when the cut's this significant, and they aren't taking out an infrastructure build, is to assure us that they are still committed and able to provide services across all of those service elements, and New Directions has assured us that they still can, but they've cut a large chunk out of their original budget, as you can see. Next slide. I think that's it.
That's it. I'll stop sharing.
Happy to take any questions. Otherwise, if not, we would welcome a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to fund this proposal.
I second
you.
that.
Thank you, Zeb and Sabrina. All right, we have a motion on the table to fund the Baker County burn. Are there any comments or questions or thoughts before we go to a vote? Yes, Henry.
Yeah, thank you. Noting your comment, Steve, I was simply curious about what percentage of the funding is going to be going toward infrastructure.
Yeah, my understanding is that there was not an infrastructure ask as part of this.
Got it. So it's all going to go
Anyone
to.
can correct me. Services.
Great.
And Ron?
I was going to wait between Burns to ask this, but since Henry asked about it, do we know where we stand in terms of one-time costs? Like how much has been requested and how much has been awarded?
Ron, is your question across all of the 7 approved so far?
Well, my question is really, my question is
go ahead.
total. My question is total for the entire state. My guess is we won't know that until we get through all the negotiations. But my guess is there was an ask, there was like a total ask, and I'm just kind of curious where we were at in terms of one-time cost total ask. Did it exceed the 44 million or not?
Yeah, Ron, my understanding is that we don't have accurate numbers as we've looked at. We tried to track one-time asks, and the way that the budgets were constructed, it was difficult for us to tease out. Once we go deeper into the negotiation phase, it makes it more clear what's one-time versus ongoing. So I don't believe that, and Jessica or Angela, correct me if I'm wrong about this, is I don't believe we have an accurate assessment of the original one-time asks. We do obviously get to very accurate accounting once we get to this phase.
Thank you.
And I will also say that the requests really vary a lot, with some, little or no infrastructure build out. Housing is often one of those things that is required. So if it's on the table, that's there. It's also one of the first things that gets cut to again guide us differently. But our efforts have been to assure that the service elements are there first, and to the extent that there's funding available for infrastructure. Beyond that, to fund those afterwards with the remaining funds, except if they're really necessary for the infrastructure. If there's no housing, for instance, and no housing can be proposed without an infrastructure build out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Any further questions or comments before we go to a vote on this motion? Okay, I think we're ready for a vote. Whenever you are, Walter, go for it.
All right, start from the top. Amy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay. Blue?
Yes.
Okay. Carlos?
Yes.
Okay. Caroline?
Yes.
Okay. Dharma? Oops. Yeah, Henry?
Yes.
Okay. Hubert?
Yes.
All right. Karen? Keisha? Lana? Leticia?
Yes.
Okay. Melinda?
Yes.
Okay. Morgan?
Yes.
All right. Nicole?
Yes.
Okay. Onisha?
I think Onisha dropped off, Walter.
Oh, okay. Ron?
Yes.
All right. Sabrina?
Yes.
All right. And Zeb?
Yes.
All right. And that passes with 13 for that. And I'll turn it back over to you, Angela.
Right. Congratulations. Another burn made. Congratulations to Baker County. All right. I think next up we have Curry County, and I will pass back to you, Steve.
Thanks, Angela. Next slide, please. So Curry County had 2 applicants. Had you approved a full burn plus additional peer support services? So ADAPT and Brookings Community. Next slide. So here's another county where there was a huge difference between what was requested and what was available. So between those 2 organizations, Brookings and ADAPT, they needed to cut about $3 million. So you'll see in the subsequent slides how they got there. Again, after looking through the comments, and we found no concerns from the subcommittee. Next slide. And so the ADAPT final request was brought down to 1.3 million. Final Brookings for peer support services, 250,000. So they were able to get within that allocation, fully within that. And you'll see the details on how they got there below. Both reduced their budgets by at least 2/3 in order to get within the budget. And the next slide details how they got there. So ADAPT cut its budget again by 2/3. It had 2 areas where they cut. One was there was a purchase of a healthcare facility, and they reduced the cost of a housing facility by 60%. So they greatly reduced the infrastructure, which has been a strategy that we have supported in how these have moved forward. ADAPT was able to maintain all the services across the 7 elements, including peers for HIV Alliance. They will provide harm reduction services beyond those that ADAPT will provide to Curry County. That's Brookings. I think, is that the last slide? Oh, I'm sorry, in the Brookings response. Brookings cut their FTE from 6 down to 4, eliminated training costs, supplies, and capital outlay. And then they will be seeking additional grant fundings to fill those budget gaps, but believe they can get there. I think that's the last slide now, sorry. If there's questions, we would entertain a motion.
Any thoughts? If not, would anyone like to make a motion? Yes, Blue.
Can you remind me, was that Curry County?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
that was Curry.
Then I would like to make a motion to approve the organizations for Curry County.
Right. Thank you, Blue. Who seconded? I heard you, but
Carlos, I spoke up for the first time.
Thank you, Carlos. So we have a motion from Blue and a second from Carlos. I see your hand, Sabrina. Did you have a question?
No, I was just going to second it. I wasn't sure if I should raise my hand or not.
All right, thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion that you all would like to have before a vote? All right, let's go to a vote. When you're ready, Walter.
Okay, go from the top. Amy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, Blue?
Yes.
Okay, Carlos?
Yes.
Okay. Caroline?
Yes.
Okay. Henry?
Yes.
Okay. And Hubert?
Yes.
Okay. Leticia?
Yes.
Okay. Melinda?
Yes.
Okay. Morgan?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Morgan. Nicole?
Yes.
All right. Onisha is not here. And Ron?
Yes.
All right. And Sabrina?
Yes.
All right. And Zeb?
Yes.
Okay. That passes again with 13. Back to you, Angela. Oh,
Onisha is
Onisha's
here.
here. Onisha, can you hear us, Onisha? How do you vote? And you can put it in the chat. Or maybe should I? Uh-oh.
Onisha, were you able to hear what the vote was about? We were voting for Curry County burn. Okay, okay. I wish you well with that situation.
Okay. So do we just move forward, not her vote, or?
Well, at this point, if Onisha, you would like to submit a vote, you can, but at this point, the vote has passed.
Okay.
I believe we should probably move forward because it seems like that there's a serious situation happening. Okay, Onisha says sounds good. It's okay. Thank you for being here. All right. So we have one more county to walk through and get council's approval on. I will pass it back to you again, Steve, for Sherman County.
Thank you. Sherman County region. Next slide, please. So this will look familiar. It's a similar scenario to those that you passed last week, in which Boulder Care is providing remote services and filling in additional services, offering choice, but all remote. Mid-Columbia, rather than CCS in this case, is providing, you know, the core burn services across all service elements. Next slide. There were no gaps. So there was a more modest over allocation between the two providers. So this was one of those counties that had sort of the minimum level at 750, so 168,000 over. Next slide. There were a couple of concerns. Will Boulder Care be able to provide technology? Same question that was raised earlier for Boulder Care, and they confirmed, as with the other counties, they are able to provide technical assistance. And Ron, I did not ask, and I apologize for that, how much is set aside for that technology assistance? And will Mid-Columbia be offering harm reductions, full harm reduction services? And they confirm that they will. Next slide. As this is the same formula that was used in the three counties that you authorized last week, where Mid-Columbia, kind of forming the core of the burn, is funded at 710. Boulder Care, the same amount that they were approved for in the Gillum, Grant, and Wheeler counties of 40,000, augmenting the services of Mid-Columbia, bringing us to the 750. How they reached this level is Mid-Columbia reduced their staffing costs by 130,000, reduced services and supplies budget by 8,000, and reduced a capital expenditure by 30,000. But again, assure that all of the services required by the burn will still be provided. Happy to take questions. If no questions, would be happy to take a motion to pass.
Okay. If there are no questions, would anyone care to make a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the county as presented and approve it.
Thank you,
I
Amy.
second.
Thank you, Henry. All right, so we have a motion from Amy and a second from Henry to approve Curry County burn. Any questions?
Sherman County.
Sherman, sorry. Thank you, Jessica. We're talking about Sherman County. Okay, no questions. I think we can move to the vote.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's take it from the top. Amy, how do you vote?
Yes.
All right. Blue?
Yes.
Okay. Carlos?
Yes.
Okay. Caroline?
Yes.
Okay. Henry, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay. Hubert?
Yes.
All right. Leticia?
Yes.
Okay. Melinda?
Yes.
All right. Morgan?
Yes.
Okay. Nicole?
Yes.
Okay. And Ron?
Yes.
Okay. Sabrina?
Yes.
Okay. And Zeb?
Yes.
All right. That passes again with 13. Back to you, Angela.
Right. Thank you all. 3 more counties done. Marvelous. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So we have just about 20 minutes left. And I believe that there are just another 2 topics for discussion today. If I may, Ron, I'll just launch into it. Is that okay?
Well, while we have
Or did-
forum, I was hoping we'd go ahead and get this, accept the, my understanding, we were going to, do we need to accept that form? Move that form for e-filing?
Yes, that is the hope that we can do a vote for
Right,
that.
so let's go, so, yeah, so let's launch into that.
All
The
right.
LOI. Release of information. ROI.
So if there is anyone with any questions, we discussed earlier the information pertaining to the release of information form that would allow the burns providing screening to submit a waiver for Class E violations to the Measure 110 contracted phone line. And then from there, the phone line would provide an e-file to submit that waiver to the courts. And Jessica, did you have?
Yeah, I just really quickly wanted to flag that I have the amended document that I can share on my screen if that would be helpful.
I believe we have some folks who were not able to make it for the session. I imagine that it would be helpful to do a quick review and put it back up on screen, just so everyone is able to see.
So real quick, the top language was taken out regarding that optional.
So essentially this form, signed by the person who is receiving the screening, would authorize the transmission of the screening, proof of screening, to in the first line, authorizing the burn provider to release that information about the screening. In the second line, allowing the phone line to release that information to the courts. So it's a two-step process through this particular form, from the burn to the phone line and the phone line to the court. And then there are some details around rights of the client who has received the screening. They can revoke their authorization at any time. They can cancel either portion, either from the burn to the phone line or from the phone line to the courts. And notification that their eligibility for benefits cannot be changed or waived by signing this authorization. And that the Class C violation screening verification letter cannot be filed without their authorization. Then there's room for signature. And if the person who was initially screened is not able to legally sign on their own behalf, there is also availability for that. And then the county and the case number of the specific Class E violation. So Burns would be requested to send this form along with the screening verification to the Measure 110 phone line. Are there any questions about the form or any conversation that you would like to have?
Yeah, I just want to make sure it gets on the record that this is one of a couple options for getting the filing to the court. The person who receives the citation can take this form directly, submit this form directly, have it printed out at the place where the screening takes place and take it to the court, or they can have the service provider e-file it directly with the court once the provider is fully up and running and able to do the e-filing. Just want to make sure that it was the intent of my understanding was the intent of the council that the Lines for Life process is temporary, and this process will be on primarily the service providers at the local level once the Lines for Life contract expires.
Thank you, Ron. Blue, did you have your hand up first? I think it looks like on my screen you did. Sabrina,
Actually, I
Blue?
think it was Blue, but I just had a question really quick. If you can walk through that one more time of how the providers working with the people that are issued the citation, how that's going to work, including Lines for Life. If you could run that down again really quick.
I can do that for sure. Okay, so someone receives a Class E violation in, let's say, Wallowa. They go to the Wallowa County Burn and they ask to receive a screening. They then receive that screening and they can either ask for that information to be printed out and handed to them, which they would then submit directly to the court. They can use this form and obtain, permission from that person who has received the screening to then take that screening, proof of screening waiver, send it to the Measure 110 phone line contractor, who would then submit it by e-filing to the court in question. And so that's another option. A potential third option would be if that burn provider is set up to do e-filing with the courts themselves, a person who has received a screening could grant permission through a different means for that information on the screening to be e-filed directly from the burn to the court. So this form is to allow the burn to submit the waiver to the phone line, who will then e-file with the courts. Does that help clarify? Of
Yes, thank you very much, Angela.
course. Any other questions or thoughts? Blue.
Thanks. Sorry, I am multitasking and have somebody repairing a sink right now. So it was more of a comment, I guess. The language drug and alcohol information is repeated in that document. And when I see it, it makes me think of like pamphlets somebody would give you about, the dangers of drugs. And is this essentially information about drug or alcohol use? Is that what it's saying? Or am I misunderstanding the way drug and alcohol information is being used in that form?
So my understanding is that a screening for substance use disorder, the diagnosis, a screening would provide, if it is positive, information about drug and alcohol use. And so in order to disclose that information, there would need to be careful following of all of the regulations around disclosure for drug and alcohol use. Is there a different set of language that you think might work better?
I guess maybe if it is just around use or around a substance use disorder diagnosis, that it would be just a little bit more clear. Just maybe even adding, if it's just about people's use, if that's what it's trying to convey, I think adding the word use could be helpful, just so people are very clear on what it's referring to.
Okay, thank you, Blue. I see Henry and Allison. Allison, did you have a response to Blue's question?
Yeah, sure. So the language around drug and alcohol information, that's referring to information that is potentially being held by an entity that's covered by 42 CFR Part 2. And so, so that could include potentially things like you're talking about, like diagnoses, but it could also just include information about the fact that that person was treated at a Part 2 covered provider. And so that's why we want to use language that's more general and is broader, because all that is considered, information, and would be covered under the category of drug and alcohol information. So I would suggest continuing to use the more generic language, or if there's more concerns about it, then perhaps we could talk about it and I can try to suggest some alternatives.
Thank you, Allison. Henry, did you have a follow-up or a different topic?
Yeah, I think it might be just a follow-up question for Allison then, regarding CFR 42. My understanding is that this is related to like any personal health information that's covered under HIPAA. So is Allison suggesting that we use the more general language to avoid HIPAA violation? When I think of like release of information, usually it's about informing the individual of their rights regarded to HIPAA and to CFR 42. So is that what you're saying, Allison? Thank you.
So you're right, Henry, the information is potentially covered by both Part 2 and by HIPAA. And so I was just referring to Part 2 because that's where that reference to drug and alcohol records comes from. But you're right, potentially both of those areas of law would be important to address. And yeah, so does that answer your question?
I think so. Yeah, my understanding is that CFR Part 42 is actually more restrictive of sharing of information than HIPAA. So that my understanding is what you're saying is we want to be really general because we want to make sure that we're not in some way violating either of those. Are those Oregon administrative rules or statutes? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that is correct. It's written in a way to try to cover the information that we believe is potentially disclosed by providing that verification letter.
Okay. Are there any other questions or further clarification needed? Excuse me. All right. Would anyone care to make a motion? Henry.
Motion to adopt the release of information as it's dictated by the whatever that document was. That's not very articulate. Sorry.
I second that motion.
All right. Thank you. So we have a motion from Henry to adopt the release of information form as it is currently, as it was displayed on the screen. We have a second from Sabrina. Whenever you are ready, no rush. I know you're typing, Walter, but whenever you're ready, we can go for a vote. Unless there are any other thoughts. Okay.
All right. Let's do it. Amy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay. Blue?
Yes.
Okay. Carlos?
Yes.
Okay. Caroline?
Yes.
Okay. And Henry?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Hubert?
Yes.
Okay. Oops, excuse me. Give me 1 second. All right, Leticia?
Yes.
Okay. And Melinda is out of here. Morgan?
Yes.
Okay. Nicole?
Yes.
Okay. Onisha?
Sorry, I'm late to the party. I abstained, but I believe in y'all. Yes.
Okay. Ron?
Yes.
Sabrina?
Yes.
All right. And Zeb?
Yes.
Okay. And that passes with 12. All right. And I'll turn it back to you, Angela.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to get to these other two elements today. So I think we'll put those off for next week. What we're going to be having a conversation about reconstituting and reestablishing and reinvigorating the media subcommittee. And then in terms of the, we'll have a conversation also about getting folks involved with getting OAC member eyes on the policies and procedures that we've asked the burn entities to develop. So those two things we're going to push to a future agenda. And that will conclude our agenda for today, unless there are any final comments or questions. Hearing none, we are adjourned.
Can I